All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the Apostle Elders, the Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to hopeful elect. Yeah, this is going to be a short lesson, but just wanted to go through something I noticed at camp this past weekend. Now, this past weekend at camp, essentially, we were out there, but because of the heavy rain and stuff like that, we decide to, at least have camp within the car, within brothers' cars. And something I noticed from that was, this is why, which I have right here, as brothers quote the scripture, as it says right there in Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 5, verse 7, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day. Right? If you've been putting off this truth, if you've been putting off actually getting serious about it, let's say that was the day that you want to come see us, right? Or you want to listen or something like that. Now, people don't really know where we camp at things like that. But let's say people had seen us before, passed by us that were where we camp at and things like that, right? We always see them there and things like that. But on that day when it was raining, right? It was like, oh, well, they're usually always out here, even if the weather's a little bad, but they're not here today. Like, what happened? Now, we were out there. I mean, we were there, but you didn't see us because nobody's going to know what cars brothers driving. And, just wanted to bring that out as I noticed that it's like, this is why scriptures, as it says, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, right? Put not off from day to day. Because as you're not taking the truth seriously, as you're not taking it serious, usually we're always out there, which we were, always out there from week to week, every Saturday. But it would have looked like on that Saturday we weren't there, but we actually were there. But it's like you would have not seen us because it's like, well, you don't know what car brothers drive. You don't know you don't know brothers personally like that to know what car they drive in, what color it looked like, what model, what type it is. So you probably would have came for edification or probably looked like, you know what? I always, if a person, let's say, lived in an area, I always shun those guys, always never stay, but I see the way things are happening. You know what? Today's the day I'm gonna go there. Today, out of all the days, you've always had time. You always see us there every Saturday. But today's the day, I'm gonna go there and be like, damn, they're not out here. Like, shit. Like, what's going on? This is why you don't put things off from day to day. Now, again, we were there, but because of the rain, we decided to stay inside. And even when it did light up a little bit, still decided to stay inside because we didn't want the chance of it started pouring again and, things like that. Right? We also want to use wisdom because brothers have phones. You want to protect your equipment and things like that. Because if the equipment gets fucked up, I ain't going to say that comment, actually. I'm going to just keep that shit to myself. But yeah, you don't want the equipment to go bad. So Sirach chapter 5 and verse 7 again, it says, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed, and perish in the day of vengeance. So there is a day of vengeance that is coming, right, for those who are not suspecting it, right? Put not off from day to day. You don't want to put this off. I'll do it later. Procrastination. You don't want to do that. Now, there was a point that I want to make, but I literally just forgot it, unfortunately, right? And when you read these, at least these first 7 verses, it goes into being presumptuous, if I'm not mistaken, right? Essentially thinking that, hey, I'm good. I have this in my life. I have that, right? You don't want to be presumptuous, thinking that, hey, because things seem like they're going well, they seem like everything seems like the day is going to be, regular. It's just going to always be like this. Does not mean that's always going to be like that. Eventually, the day of vengeance, the day of the Lord is eventually going to come. Thawada Yahbashah, he just may remember. Now, this is why I want to mention, if you analyze what has happened within the last couple of years, or at least for me, ever since I came to truth, which I want to say it's about 6 years now, I think. I honestly can't remember. But I've noticed something. I remember when I watched before I came into truth and before I joined the camp, that I would see brothers, and brothers would, specifically the elder of my camp, Elder Tazaiwan, they would be out there from like early in the morning to like late at night, dark, for like pretty much speaking for like 7 hours sometimes. And I noticed when I came into camp, I noticed a shift happened, but I never said anything about it. I'm like, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, why is it now all of a sudden like you kind of limiting the time now? Not now on purpose, but it's kind of like when I came around, it was like for 5 hours. But then slowly but sure, I started seeing like, yo, went from like 5 hours, not four, three, not about 2 hours. Like, what's going on here? Like, and I never said anything, but after a while, the Spirit revealed it, and then I still kept it to myself. And then I believe other brothers, I believe it was maybe El Tazine one that brought it up, but other brothers brought it up as well, which confirmed it through the Spirit in my mind that things are, the curtains are closing, so to speak, right? The Lord doesn't really have his men out there as long as he used to. Again, like I mentioned with El Tazine when I first came in the truth, watching those videos, it would be from like early morning, like let's say around 10, 11, something like that, to like late at night, 6, 7 o'clock, right? They have like part 1 video to like part 15 or something like that, right? And you see it from early in the morning, the bright day, to when it gets dark. But now you've seen a change where it's like it's slowly doing, and it's not like anybody made a command or anybody said, hey, let's start having camp a little less. No, it just started happening through Spirit where, like I mentioned, when I came in, I noticed like about 5 hours and things like that. Sometimes push a little bit more than that. But I started noticing slowly but surely the time started to go down. And nobody in the camp, the elders, never gave a command or order like, hey, let's start having a little, like, just lowering the time down on camp. We ain't got to be here for that long. No, it just started happening on its own. Because the Lord is as I said, the curtains are slowly closing. The Lord is slowly taking his men off the street, and you're seeing that with the time. We're now brothers, at least my camp, we probably prophesy for about 3 hours. I mean, if maybe somebody wants to come and talk, maybe the time will extend. But other than that, for the most part, as you can see, you only be out there for like a couple of hours, and then that's it. So again, make no tearing, because as you can see, if you notice things and you're spiritual about it, you'll see that, hey, even the way that brothers interact with people before, like Eldad Tasman, if Mike can't mention it, before it would always be like, hey, I got this precept for you. Hey, I got this precept for you. Now it's like, hey, if you don't get it, all right, cool. Even the brother Bakwa, I believe he mentioned that this past weekend camp. Hey, well, what if you think this? Well, hey, you know what? You stay with that. We're going to continue. You're seeing the attitude, not just how we camp change, but even the attitude of brothers. It's not like nobody said to be like this. It's just the Spirit shifting us automatic to us like, hey, if you don't believe it, fine, that's cool. That's on you. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. All right. Ain't nobody said to do that. Ain't nobody said for camp to, start being only about 3 hours, for brothers to start being like, hey, if you can't get out. The Spirit just started shifting things that way. And the Spirit is getting ready to shift things into a different gear. So this is again why make no tearing. We were out there, but let's say someone that always saw us out there on that particular day, hey, I'm going to come see those guys. We were there, but again, you don't know what car we were in and things like that because of the weather conditions, because of the rain. So just something that I want to mention right there, as I noticed since my time being in the truth, that the Lord has allowed me to be in the faith. This is our Romans chapter 13 and verse 11. And that knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. Right, and when you read that in the NLT, I like it. I was brought on the NLT. It says, this is all the more urgent, for you know how late it is. The time is running out. Wake up, for our salvation is nearer than when we first believed. Right. Again, when I first came to the truth, yes, there were things happening and stuff like that. But it feels like, and I think brothers almost want to say this universally, ever since the end of like 2019, I specifically remember that, like around November, going into 2020 till now, things have drastically changed and things seem to be picking up a lot more faster. It's not to sit there and say that things before I came into faith, that the Lord allowed me to come into faith, and things during the time early on in my walk in this truth that things weren't happening. But ever since the end of 2019 until now, things have been picking up a lot faster. And even when things seem like, okay, they have the little spike of, things happening and it cools down, you're seeing that, okay, things are spiking. Yeah, it may cool down, but you're seeing that happen a lot more rapidly, where spike. All right, chill out for a little. Spike, chill out, spike, spike. So eventually it's going to head to a boiling point. Eventually it's no longer going to be that spiking up and then cooling down, spiking up and then cooling. Eventually the Lord's going to have it spike, 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 and then get into a boiling point. Same thing with you put water in a pot, right? You cover it, turn that heat up all the way. Eventually that water is going to start boiling. It's going to start getting violent, things like that, right? The bubbles start forming. And eventually all that pressure in there is eventually going to have to come out. It's no longer going to be that spike and then go down, spike and go down. No, eventually the pot is just going to boil over, right? And all that air pressure in it is going to have to come out. And eventually that's how prophecy is going to be. Eventually prophecy is just going to just spill over, right? So now, again, for now, our salvation is nearer than when we first believed, right? We can see that things are picking up and moving a lot faster than when we first came to truth. Yeah, you may have been excited when you first came into the faith, when the Lord allowed you to come into faith and see like, oh, I got to really get right because the Lord could come back tomorrow. But now you're really seeing in these days that, hey, obviously not literally, obviously like the Lord's going to come back next week. Although, Lord, don't take my words for it. If you want to come back next week, please do. But, we can see that things are picking up a lot more, like I was mentioning about the spike. Eventually, it's no longer going to be spikes in prophecy. So just going to be, like I mentioned, just prophecy just pouring out, right? And then that's especially when we're no longer going to have to be there on the streets because you're going to no longer have to hear the words of prophecy. You're going to be living the words of prophecy, right? Also, I'll read the Amplified as well. Do this, knowing that it is a critical time. It is already the hour for you to awaken from your spiritual complacency, for our salvation is nearer to us than when we first believed in Hamashiach, right? So continuing, Romans chapter 13 and 12, the night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Again, going back to the point in Sirach chapter 5 and verse 7, make no tarrying, right? As you can see, right, or you should be able to see, things is getting crazier in the world, right? So now is the time to put off the works of darkness. Now is the time to put off the ways of the world and put on the armor of light, which is this truth. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and in drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put ye on the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, and make not provision to the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. And people who make tarrying to turn to the Lord, that's what they do. They fulfill the lust thereof because they still have that wickedness, that evil, that malice in them, to where they want to perform the deeds of the flesh. In their mind, they think like, there'll be a time when I can, turn back to the Lord. Like I'll get it right before I need to, and at the right time. Nah, you don't know when the right time is, right? Because like it says, going back to Sirach, it says, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come. And in thy security, right, when you think that I'm good for now, trust me, I'm going to get it right when I need to. Trust me, I know when's the time, right? You feel secure, right? That's why people talk like it, because they feel secure. But in thy security, right, thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance. You don't know, as the scripture say, no man knoweth the hour nor the day. You don't know when the wrath of the Lord is going to come. You don't know when the Lord is going to lay his vengeance, right? Not just upon the world, but specifically upon you. So you want to no longer make those tarrying. You want to turn to the Lord right now. You don't want to wait. And now is the time to get it, right? As the saying goes, get it while the getting is hot. I may have butchered that, I apologize. But, however the saying is, right? Get it now while it's hot, right? So just something that I noticed at camp, and just something that not just myself has mentioned, but other brothers have mentioned as well, that if you look at the atmosphere of the way things are, you'll see that, again, nobody made a command, nobody made an order. It just started naturally happening, something I noticed, and then, other brothers started mentioning as well, which confirmed in the spirit for me that nobody gave a command, nobody gave an order. Even with the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, I doubt they would give that. Now, I don't want to speak for them as if I know, but speaking as a man, I don't think that they even get it. But I just started noticing things started cutting down. The video started cutting down. And it's not like nobody said to do that or anything. It just started happening. So, hey, the Lord is getting ready to take his men off the streets. Hey, yeah, early on, in the beginning, especially, and maybe even before the Lord brought me into the ministry, into the truth, yeah, brothers was out there for 5, 6, 7 hours, 8, maybe even 10 hours. But as you can see, things is dwindling down to about 3 hours, 2 hours. Maybe, again, if you have somebody come up and things like that, maybe it may extend to about 4 or 5 hours. But for the most part, even the attitude of brothers, like, hey, if you can't get it, all right, well, just, you could just go. This is what we believe in. You believe in your Jesus Christ and things like that. All right, cool. Right? But you can even see the attitude. So the atmosphere of things is changing. Right? So that means what? The atmosphere even of the world is about to change as well. So pray that the point has been made and understood, and you've been edified. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to all for elect. Shalom.